I'll just introduce like to take up taking up and we will take up the last stage. The issue is now everybody is talking about land acquisition and the ordinance. The possibilities of land rights and property rights to women. And the land operational land modeling is very alarmingly it is shrinking. 1991 it was 155 million hectares. 20 years later now it is 2012 and 13 it has come down to 94 hectares, 94 million hectares. So this operational size of operational land holding is alarmingly shrinking, and the available land is taken away for not farming activities, mainly for the waterways and fish business. So this is a very creates a concern for all of us, especially on the food security and other issues, related issues. So, what our organization or NFIW is feeling that we are asking for a land reform. Land should be acquired for land reform, and that should have a gender justice. So far in India, according to some reports, only 4% of the women are having land or property rights under land holding. So 96% of the Indian women they are landless, but almost 74-75% of the food grains are produced by the rural women of the country. So there is a talk of women's empowerment, but empowerment is what is there to achieve that goal. So we think land rights is a major stepping stone towards that goal, and we are demanding land reform which has gender justice. The other issues which we would like all of my colleagues will speak on different aspects of this issue. Jaya, Aruna, and Usha. Usha will speak definitely on different aspects, and I now request Aruna to give direction. Okay, as and even eligible figures, government what I would like to insist is that what the land acquisition bill of 2013 did, and what we are of course all of us oppose the ordinance, because the ordinance has taken away whatever little relief was given to the farmers by the land acquisition bill 2013. But I want to insist that this land acquisition bill 2013 also basically was a very, very limited aspect of the whole land acquisition, because it only said that extra economic force should be prevented during the transfer of agricultural land to non-agricultural land. So if state government or the government is using force and making farmers give their land under duress, that has to be protected. And farmers have to be given proper compensation for the land that they give. And other people who are working with the land should be given the application. That was what the whole Land Acquisition 2013 Act was about. But the point is that this 30 million hectares of land that has gone away in 20 years is not just by extra economic force. It is not just that the state government is forcibly taking away land. A lot of it is going away because the farmers are unable to get viable earnings from the piece of land that they have, and economic compulsion makes them willingly give away their land. So if we want to really protect farmers' land rights, then we have to necessarily look into the aspects of economic compulsion as to what kind of land holdings they have, what earnings are available with these land holdings, and how they are, under the circumstances, being forced to give away their land for any business or maybe some attractive to access to life. The point is that there are 94.4 million hectares land. How are they distributed among these groups? According to the government own figure, 7% of rural households do not have any land and don't have even house land. Then after that, 40% of households, which is a big figure, 40% of rural households do not have any land other than homestead. So they don't have any farm land. After that, next 30%, that means now we are already covering about 80%. Next 30% households have an average land holding of 0.24 hectares, which is less than an acre. 0.24 hectares is not just less than an acre, it's about half an acre. So 30% of the households have this small piece of land without water, without other resources, and it is impossible for them. They can work 24 hours, day and night, but they cannot earn their livelihood with this small piece of land without having it. Then again, next 10% have 1 to 2 acres. So basically, 93% of rural households have land holdings which are not viable. Only 7%, and 7% are not only about large farmers, even these 7% includes 2 to 4 hectares of middle-level farmers. Only 7% of rural households have viable land holdings. That is why what Annie is saying, that land reforms are absolutely necessary. When 93% of rural households when they don't have land for viable land use facilities, then agrarian crisis can never be solved. And just to debate about the ordinance that Modi government has introduced and fight for restoring land acquisition bill of 2013 is a very, very small step in correcting the agrarian crisis that Indian economy is.
I think that land in the land, I think so Hindi might not be accurate. So actually the thing is that as a social activist working in and living in midst of people with very, very poor land holding, I live in Devbhoomi work-wise, and there the average land holding is under 2 bigas, and under 2 bigas is less than an acre. 2.5 bigas, our bigas make 1 acre. So it's under 1 acre. And I know that even this 1 acre may not be in one place, it might be divided over 3 places because of inheritance. Because land is not just half or quarter on the basis of size and on the basis of ownership, it's also what kind of land it is. So if there is dice, and there's irrigated land and unirrigated land, every piece of land is then fabricated into 5 or 4. So you will get a portion of irrigated land and get a portion of unirrigated land. So maybe 2 different places. But I also know as a social activist that the most sensitive issue to touch upon for any rural person is land. They still you a need for land because land is for them their main identity as an Indian citizen. Just remember that for them much of citizenship has passed them by. They do not have the right you and I have, and you and I can people begin to organize and having a flat. But for them that relationship to the land is their fundamental relationship to India. And to be part of part of the socio-political economic network. So when you touch on land and land reform, you still have to deal with it when you're doing something for them. But no matter what the Land Acquisition Act was, which was passed earlier, and it didn't give us what we wanted in many ways, it still was somewhat better than the previous existing act. Now I have two problems. One is the ordinance itself. If you correct me if I'm wrong, it is legally right. It is politically completely wrong. Of course it is legally right. There's so many things that are legally right. But whether legal correctness can overpower and correct basic issues of information and involvement in a democracy of questions that still stand. That previous law, so good or bad, has been debated in the public domain and so many organizations were part of the debate. Everyone was unhappy with the law, but we were still part of it. Some little bit of what each one said has been taken, not all of it was taken into the net, everything conceded. But we were consulted. This ordinance, the method of the ordinance, the process of an ordinance may be correct in parliamentary terms, but it does not involve any discussion, it does not involve any debate, and the way it was trying to be pushed through parliament also did not allow it to be sent to a standing committee so that we could have our views taken. There is no process of consultation, and for me, it's a huge democratic issue, apart from this being a land issue. So can we in this country, just because we have majorities anywhere, pass ordinances and bypass the democratic process is the question I want to change it. And it may happen in land, it may happen anywhere else. But the point is that the ordinance use itself for me is a big problem. You know, with great trouble, after great agitation by the Narmada Bachao Andolan and so many other places, where because of development impact in this process, we have come to realize that all the technical nitty-gritty, whether it was a social impact assessment, or when it was a public hearing, when it was a serving of notice, how important it is to prepare people to know that their land is going. Even if it is gone, or even if it is going, the full information that something is being taken from them is critical. Now this ordinance in many cases bypassing those necessities of conversation and dialogue with the people, and for me as a citizen of India, it is completely incorrect that you can't remove an encroachment in a rich part of Delhi without having huge problems. And here you are taking away quantities of land, millions of hectares of land may go because of this ordinance. It's just a signature on an ordinance, just a thought of a small percentage of people who sit in parliament, whose representatives themselves do not want it. If you remember, the BJP had voices of protest from within the party who had to be reprimanded by the Prime Minister for absenting themselves from the debate. Because it's not a question of whether you are a party member or not, it's a question of whether your relationship to land is fundamental to your existence or not. And it is coupled with the entire suicide of farmers and so on, which comes into the business input. I think it's critical. Percentages apart, it is true that in this country you have non-viable land. One of the reasons could be that most of the land is not in big proportion and therefore doesn't allow you fertilizers and fertilizers, pesticides and so on. There's another debate which I think also is a part of the big debate to me as a movement. What kind of farming do we want? Do we want viability at any cost, or do we want viability keeping in mind the nature of organic farming, the nature of production, the nature of what has happened to our soil and our topsoil because of putting in these kinds of inputs? There are many debates to be taken into consideration which the previous government has not done and this government is also not doing. So I therefore think that today we are talking about a feminist point of view of agriculture. And for me the feminist point of view also includes what kind of agriculture, what kind of production, use of land, use of seeds, use of organic fertilizers, use of so many other things. But for the women and men I work with, too, any parting of that land, whether it's viable or non-viable, will be one of the most critical things they fight for. And they can be fixed battles on land, even small bits, giving away a small strip of their land. If the neighbor encroaches on it, they come armed with whatever they have to fight. So let us understand that what this ordinance is going to do, if it facilitates all that it threatens to do, there is going to be whole-scale unrest in the country. And really, women are going to receive the worst of it. So I'm really worried about this, and I think the intent of this, because it is not just there is a ordinance passed. The ordinance has been passed with a very specific interest, which is the corporate interest. And if the corporate interest is to be realized, then they are not only going to lose land, but they are going to lose it in the worst possible way. And I've just come from Rajasthan, I lived there, and I've lived there always, but I used to come to Delhi more frequently in the past than now I go. And in Rajasthan, we are fighting at many levels. We are fighting for the right to have access, we are fighting for the right to have, what do you call them, under railway tracks, what do they call passage through and under the railway track to go to the next part. You are willing to give it one side of the railway track and your land is on the other side. Cattle have died, people have died. So it's just acquiring a foot for the railway track causes so many problems. And there are people on strike, and of course acquiring land for public purpose or not public purpose is cost too much. I think we have to think a lot about what women will suffer when something like this happens. And I think I am just changing my political and not an economist. I really speak to people's politics. I'm actually very great concern. And with the ordinance, we not really commenting on the last conference. Just to say this much that so we did complete our first round of land reform. And so there isn't even this much protection that people who got their land under their land reform will have it protected even for a couple of generations. And we're also seeing that in the forest rights. The forest, they want to dilute the forest rights act. I don't understand this. Actually, what is this being done for? It's being done because there are people in this country who need to have experience, who need to have things reaching them, or are we doing it for some other purpose? It makes no sense. Because the Forest Rights Act is the first time that the hegemony of the Forest Department got sacked. And when the Forest Rights Act came in, that we understood that 23% of Indian land mass had been under the Forest Department, in which people could only stay there as encroachers or as the substance of the state. It's only since 2008, the Act came in 2008 that people have been able to, there has been a recognition of the rights. It's not about giving people rights, it's not even land reform, it's actually about recognizing that historic injustice has been done, and they should therefore now be entitled to it. So what is it? What is even the 2029 Act? Okay, now once you settle the Forest Rights Act, we can acquire it, because they either make it into a right and we can acquire it. So there is something bizarre even in that concept. Now what they want is to bypass that law altogether. They forget about forest rights. There are multiple purposes which we think is state purpose, which the government will decide is a national purpose, and then it just has to be handed over without asking any questions. This is not even a skewed vision of development or growth or anything. It's just appropriation. And the one thing that even under the 1894 Act, you could not do appropriation. You had to do acquisition properly, which meant that all the processes that are set out in the law should be followed. At least that much should be followed. Now we've got things set in the law in the 2013 Act, and you don't want to follow it, you want to bypass it. And how do you bypass it? Not by going back to Parliament. You bypass it by saying, I am the executive, I have priorities, I don't have patience with Parliament, I don't have patience with process, and therefore I want to quickly, because I want to prove things to the world, never mind what happens in this country. This kind of paternalistic appropriation is completely unacceptable. And when we were discussing what kind of impact this ordinance has on women, actually the major change that came in the 2013 Act, which many of us approved of, was that before land is acquired, first of all you recognize that there are two kinds of people who are affected by it, broadly two kinds of people. People who own land and people who are affected by that land acquisition. Women always fell into that category where women were affected by land acquisition. And their voices had no place at all till the 2013 Act came in. After the 2013 Act, with the consultation and consent being necessary, it was, you have to hear the women in a place, and you have to take their point of view. Now that is to be bypassed, because there is impatience. And there is impatience because you want to get it quickly, you want to be able to transfer that land to other purposes quickly. So the idea of public purpose is actually without the public at all in it. And that's completely outrageous. There are some startling things in this ordinance, both in the first version of it in 2014 and in the 2015 version. They have, for instance, in the 2013 Act, one of its you can say dramatic things that came in that Act, which only as a lawyer I find it dramatic, maybe it's not noticed otherwise it's dramatic rather, but they had a provision there that said that if anybody breaches any of the provisions of the Land Acquisition Act, of the 2013 Act, then that official can be penalized, there will be a penalty put on them, and that's part of that law itself. Which means, for example, no land use can be changed till rehabilitation is complete. That is a provision of the 2013 Act. Now, all it needs is a certificate to say that this rehabilitation is complete. So we know that rehabilitation has never been properly done in this country, and it was important to put in something which will make people deliver on that promise. The officials have to take responsibility for ensuring that rehabilitation is done. Now what do? They said they're going to change that penalty provision. Not only are we going to take out the penalty, under an ordinance, they are changing it to say that you cannot prosecute any official under this law, except with the sanction of the state. It's totally outrageous. And I mean, all it tells us is that there is no intention of following any of the beneficial provisions of this law, and that it's about riding roughshod over people, not only in the way in which the law is made, but also in the way in which they intend to implement the law. Because if you can't prosecute, you can't do anything to the person without the sanction of the same state which is asking them to do this. What are we left with? Why even bother to have a law? Why did you bother to have? Why didn't we just repeal the 2013 Act and say we have power, eminent to gain power over all people in this country, and that's the end of the story? I mean, it's completely outrageous. There is just a couple of other things. One is this, when they shifted from saying that this law will apply as it is, the 2013 Act was hugely problematic because it brought in private companies for whom land could be acquired. It brought in PPPs for which land can be acquired. Already it said that for government acquisition there is no need for consent. There were all manner of problems even within that. Now what do they do in this? By an ordinance, they say, what, this private company is not enough. We might want to give land to anybody using the Land Acquisition Act. So we change it. Wherever it says private company, change it to private entity, which can be anything at all. So it's a blanket power that they've taken unto themselves to do what they want. And the kind of the fig leaf that you were referring to yesterday, Aruna, the fig leaf that they brought in this is so absurd. They brought in a thing now saying that, okay, if we acquire land, then one member of the family should be given employment. You look at the employment laws now, look at the labor laws. They're saying, okay, hire and fire, close down. In fact, the electronics have so caught the imagination of this government that they're saying, if you want to shut down the company, just send us electronic notification that you shut down and walk away. In that context, to say that this is your plan of rehabilitation is not even pretending to anything. I mean, sometimes governments do try to con people into believing that something is being given. In this case, it seems like even that is being bypassed. They're just giving up on it altogether. So actually, I take a slightly different position to the sense that the first ordinance may have had. We were in a hurry, we had to do that. I have no idea why they were in that kind of hurry, because nothing came of the ordinance anyway. It was unlikely. Now they got a second ordinance. When the Supreme Court heard that Professor Bhargava's case, because there too it was about land, it was about promulgation of ordinance in relation to land, and it was about re-promulgation. They said re-promulgation of ordinances are a fraud on the Constitution. So it is not legal, it is not constitutional. I wanted to talk about this question of again and again using the word public purpose and having this status to the state that it has the eminent domain over land. So for public purpose, state can take away land, there, whatever facilities. Now, public purpose includes rural electrification, rural infrastructure. Public purpose includes defense production. Public purpose includes industrial corridors. Public purpose also includes social infrastructure, like I think now they're moving with private schools and private hospitals. I want to insist that is agriculture
public purpose. Producing food grain should it not be included into public purpose? So I want to put this whole ordinance on its head and say that agriculture is public purpose. Please use your eminent domain and stop all transfer of land from agriculture to non-agriculture. At least put an immediate freeze since you have formulated a proper land use policy, which is people-centric, which doesn't use land as a commodity. And by all means, use your eminent domain status, but define public purpose properly.
So the government for Modi's friendship must take a position. As government and board said, if it is in this form, then it is completely unacceptable and it is not public purpose for any group of this country and the people. So what we are demanding that, as I said initially, that land reform which